Hey everyone. As you can see, I had my baby. This is Elvis Clifford Fox Holgate. He weighed 7 pounds, 15 and a half ounces, and was 20 inches long. This video is going to be a little bit of a labor and delivery vlog, but it's mostly going to be a birth story because I ended up having him in the car. So obviously I didn't have my camera with me. So on August 3rd, I had a doctor's appointment at 11 a.m. and he checked me and I was already at 4 to 5 centimeters. And he had told me that if I started getting consistent contractions, that I should immediately go to the hospital. He said that because I had been having contractions on and off for the past 4 days prior, and I was already so far dilated. But when everything started, I really didn't even know I was having contractions. Before I went home, he swept my membranes for me, and I didn't even feel it. And I remember with my first son, it really hurt when my doctor did it. So I don't know if it's because I was so far dilated or he was just gentler about it. But yeah, I didn't even feel it, so that was pretty interesting. After my appointment, I went home and I cleaned the house a little bit, and then I started watching TV with the kids. I think we were watching like Arthur or something like that. And we also watched a movie too, and that was when things like got really intense. So around like 4:56, I was like using my contractions app. I started feeling what I thought was gas pains, but just in case, I was like timing them as contractions, and they weren't too consistent. Like, I wasn't really paying attention really because they weren't that painful at all. I honestly just thought it was gas. But it was obviously not just gas. It was definitely contractions. And I had actually had my husband go to the grocery store for me, and he was gone for about an hour, and by the time he came home, it went from 0 to 100 in about 10 minutes. Like, it was insane. Like, I did not expect that at all, because my first son, my labor was 8.5 hours long, and with my daughter, it was 6.5 hours long. So I was watching the Blues Brothers with my kids. They love that movie. And I was bouncing on my yoga ball, and then I got up to go to the restroom, and that's when things got seriously intense. While I was in the bathroom, before my husband had actually gotten home, the kids actually came into the bathroom, and they thought I was singing, so they were trying to harmonize with me, and they were singing too. It was so precious, but it was not really what I wanted to deal with at that time. Well, when my husband got home, I was like screaming and everything, and I think he heard me outside because he came barging through the door. And he was like, "Well, are you okay? Are you okay?" And obviously, you know, I was in a lot of pain, so I was not okay. But he had asked me, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" Because we had originally planned to have a home birth with just him and I, and then our kids. And at that moment, I was like, "No, let's go to the hospital." 'Cause it was becoming unbearable. Like, and I had my 2 other kids all natural, but we were in the hospital, so I think that made me more, I guess, less nervous. But obviously, I had never had a baby on my own before, so it made me really nervous, and like the intensity of the contractions were like so bad. Like, I was having front contractions and back contractions, like back and front labor. It was so bad. With my son, I only had back labor, and with my daughter, I only had front labor. So it was like contractions on top of contractions, and it was like non-stop. And that started like only an hour into labor, so it was crazy. So once we realized we were going to the hospital, we had to go take the kids to Grandma's house, which is just like right down, like a couple feet. We live on the same property, so that only took a couple minutes to get them all set up, but they did not want us to leave. Like, they wanted to go with us. And while we were there, I was leaning on Grandma's washing machine screaming, and my kids were like not wanting to leave me because I think they finally realized I was in pain. And yeah, we kind of had to like force them into the house and tell them, you know, Mommy's having the baby, we'll be back, you know. It was really cute. So after my contraction was over, I had walked around the garage to go into the driveway and to wait for Willie to bring the van over. And I started having another contraction. I started screaming, Willie, Willie! And like I was like wondering what the heck is taking him so long. Like, it seemed like it took like an hour for him to get all the way over to the driveway with the car, and it's literally like not even that far. But I guess he was grabbing a phone charger for me, which was really good because I had totally forgot a phone charger and my phone was about to die. But once he pulled up, he rolled down the window because I was just standing there. Like, I felt like I could not move. And I was just standing there, and he rolled down the window, and he's like, you want to go, or do you want to go back in the house? And I got in the car after about a minute of thinking about it. And I told him, I said, you know, I'm probably going to have this baby in the car. And he's like, well, do you want to stay home or do you want to go? I said, let's just go. And while we were driving, about 5 minutes in, I felt the urge to push. And I told him, I'm like, you better help me get my underwear off because I'm having this baby. And I don't think he really believed me, because when he actually did start crowning, he was like, oh my God, you are having the baby. It's like, no, duh. I'm not going to just make that up. But yeah, after about 5 minutes, I started feeling the need to push, but I didn't even have to push. He pushed himself out, and while his head was crowning, my water broke, and then his head came out. He started wailing, and within a few seconds, his whole body was out. So he like kind of shot out of me, and it's a good thing my hands were down there, so he didn't fall. I caught him. So once the baby was out and I was holding him, we were like in like complete awe and shock. Like, my husband watched the whole thing while he was driving. I was like, keep your eyes on the road. But yeah, I mean, we got to the hospital safely. You know, he was driving very safely, but he decided to watch too, which I have no problem with. He watched our other two be born, but he was like amazed, and he was like, oh my gosh, you are so amazing, this is so awesome. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't think this is so amazing that I just have my kid in the car, but he thought it was so cool. I then took this picture and I sent it to my mom and my dad, and I put in the captions, I just had my baby in the car. And then I called the labor ward and I told them, you know, we are on our way. I had my baby. And they were like acting like it's like something that happens every single day. They're like, okay, we'll see you when you get here. You know, we'll be waiting outside. I was like, oh, okay. And I was like just in like such shock, like, oh my gosh, like I just had my baby in the car. And then about 10 to 15 minutes later, we got to the hospital. And they were all waiting outside for us, and they brought the cord clamps and the scissors and everything, and they had my husband cut his umbilical cord in the car, and then they got me on a wheelchair, and they had the baby in the little bassinet thingy, and they took us inside, checked us all out, and they were like in shock. Because he was perfectly fine and I was perfectly fine, and I hadn't even tore either, and I was really surprised about that, because with my first two, I had second-degree tears with both of them. So I was totally expecting to have, like, a second or third-degree tear. But I didn't. And thankfully, that's, like, really nice because, like, he's only a week old and I feel great. Like, I don't hurt at all. Like, I've already been cleaning the house and, you know, doing all my normal chores and all that, like feeding the animals, and we live on an acre, so, you know, we have a lot to do around here. So it was really nice that I didn't tear. Then about a few hours later, I had sent my husband home because, you know, our kids had never been away from us, never spent the night with anybody else, like, ever. And my son's about to be 4, and my daughter's about to be 2. It's just, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't really see the need for them to be away from us. But, yeah, I had sent my husband home to go care for our other kids while I stayed in the hospital with the baby. You know, they do all their tests and all that. And then, they were going to send me home the next night. So, like, the second day of me being in the hospital, they were going to send me home. But one test hadn't come back yet, and the doctor had gone home. So, I didn't get to go home, and it made me really upset. Like, I called my husband crying, because that whole day they were telling me, yeah, you're going to go home, you're going to go home. And obviously I didn't get to go home, so it made me really upset. Because I just wanted to go home. I wanted to go be in my bed and sleep with my kids, and, you know, I was just not having a good time. And then they're, like, coming in, like, every couple of hours to check on you, and it's like, I don't get to sleep while you're coming in because you're waking me up. So that was frustrating. But the next morning I got to go home, and I was so happy. I was so happy to go home. My husband came and picked me up with the kids. They saw him in the car seat, and they were like, oh, baby, 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 so excited, but they couldn't, like, touch him or anything. So when we got home, I had my husband sit down on the couch, and I gave him the baby, and they got to touch him and, like, hold, well, not really hold him, but they got to, like, touch him and, like, see him, and they are, like, obsessed with him, like, absolutely obsessed with their little brother. They've already been holding him, and obviously I'm right next to them when they do it, and I'll take, like, a little picture, and then, you know, and then take the baby back, but I don't ever, like, leave them unattended with the baby. And yeah, they are absolutely in love with their baby brother. It's so precious. So that's about it for my birth story. It was a whirlwind of a day. But yeah, altogether my labor and delivery was about an hour and a half long. I started having contractions around, like, 4:56, and he was born at 6:28, I believe my husband said. He checked his phone quickly. But yeah, it was crazy intense. I can't believe that. I'm still in shock that I had my baby in the car. We're definitely going to be having our next one at home. I'm not even going to second guess going to the hospital, because now I really know I can do it. And it would have been much more comfortable doing it in the bathtub or the bed than the car. But thankfully my car seat is, it's still good. My husband used to be a car detailer, so he cleaned it up. It's perfectly fine. There's no stains, thankfully. That was my birth story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
If I had 1,000 tongues, I would sing with everyone. Voices like a mountain song, sing you are my only